Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, this book has had a massive impact, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Millions have read it. And what Covey found after just years and years of research wasn't just what effective people did, but the principles underneath it all.
Yeah, and he noticed something really interesting about history, about how success used to be defined.
That's right. It's fascinating. He saw this big shift. Before, say, World War I, self-help was all about character. Integrity, humility, courage, fairness, that kind of thing. Building yourself from the inside out.
Like a strong foundation.
Exactly. But after the war, the focus kind of flipped. It became more about personality image, how you communicate, quick tips and tricks.
The personality ethic, he called it.
Right. And Covey's point was, look, that personality stuff can be useful, but real sustainable effectiveness. That comes from the deeper character ethic. It's the roots of the tree, not just the shiny leaves.
Makes sense. It feels more substantial, more lasting. And he lays out this path for developing that character, right? These stages of growth.
Yeah, 3 stages. First, dependence, where we rely on others, like when we're children. Then independence, becoming self-reliant, making our own choices.
Which sounds like the goal for many people.
It often is. But Covey takes it a step further to interdependence, and this is key.
Okay, interdependence, what does that mean exactly?
It's not about needing others in a dependent way. It's about choosing to work with others, because you recognize that together you can achieve more than you ever could alone, even if you're perfectly capable independently.
So it's a conscious choice for collaboration.
Precisely. Think of a great team, musicians, athletes. Individually skilled, yes, but the synergy, the combined result, that's where the real power lies. That's interdependence.
Okay, so that's the journey. Dependence, independence, interdependence. And the habits guide us along this path.
Exactly. Habits 1, 2, and 3 help us move from dependence to independence, achieving what Covey calls private victory. Then habits 4, 5, and 6 are about moving into interdependence, the public victory.
And the 7.
Habit 7, sharpen the saw, is about keeping it all going. Continuous improvement. It supports all the others.
Got it. So our goal today is to really unpack these habits, see how they fit together, and how you can actually use them. Let's start at the beginning then. Habit 1, be proactive.
Right. This is the foundation. Being proactive at its core means taking responsibility for your own life.
As opposed to being reactive.
Exactly. Reactive people, Covey says, are often driven by feelings, by circumstances, by conditions. They blame external factors. The weather ruined my day.
What?
My boss makes me so mad,
Yeah, we've all heard that, or maybe said it.
We probably all have at times. But Covey highlights this crucial idea. Between stimulate, whatever happens to us, and response, there's a space.
A space.
It's a space. And in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. Proactive people live in that space. They recognize they can choose.
So it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it.
Or rather, how you choose to respond to it. That's the proactive mindset. And this leads to his idea of the circle of influence versus the circle of concern.
Okay, explain those.
Your circle of concern includes everything you care about: global warming, the economy, what other people think, maybe the traffic, lots of things.
Things we worry about but often can't directly control.
Precisely. Your circle of influence, on the other hand, is smaller. It contains the things you can actually do something about: your attitude, your skills, your work habits, how you treat people.
And proactive people focus their energy where?
On their circle of influence, they work on the things they can change. And interestingly, as they do that, their circle of influence often grows.
While reactive people focus on the circle of concern.
Yes, often getting bogged down, feeling victimized, blaming things they can't control. And their circle of influence tends to shrink because they neglect the areas where they do have power.
You can even hear it in the language people use, can't you?
Definitely. Reactive language is like, there's nothing I can do, I have to. It makes me so mad, if only. It's just responsibility.
Right. Whereas proactive language sounds like,
let's look at our options. I can choose a different approach. I control my own feelings. I will. It's language of choice and responsibility.
so how can someone start building that proactive muscle? Any practical tips?
Covey suggests starting small. Make and keep promises to yourself and to others, even tiny commitments. Finishing a task you said you'd do, showing up on time. Each time you do, you build integrity, you build self-trust.
So it's building that sense of personal reliability.
Exactly. And just to be clear, proactive doesn't mean being pushy or aggressive. It's not about blaming others either. It's simply recognizing You are responsible for your choices and your responses. You're the one in charge of you.
Okay, that's a powerful foundation, being proactive. So once you've taken responsibility, where do you go next?
Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Right. If habit 1 says, you're the driver, habit 2 says, okay, where are you driving to? It's about having a clear destination, a vision for your life based on what truly matters to you.
This is where that famous funeral exercise comes in, isn't it?
It is. It's quite a thought experiment. Covey asks you to imagine your own funeral. Seriously picture it. Who's there? What do you want them to be saying about you? About the kind of person you were, the contributions you made, the impact you had.
Wow. That's a confronting exercise.
It is, but it's incredibly clarifying. It cuts through all the day-to-day noise and forces you to think about your deepest values, your legacy, what really defines a successful life for you.
So it helps you identify your core priorities.
Exactly. It's like before you start climbing the ladder of success, habit 2 makes you check if the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Are you spending your life energy on things that genuinely matter to you?
It's about having that personal definition of success, not just chasing society's version.
Precisely. And this leads to the idea of creating a personal mission statement.
Like a personal constitution.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a written statement defining who you want to be your character, what you want to contribute, and the values or principles that will guide your actions. It becomes your standard, your compass for making decisions.
That sounds incredibly useful for navigating life's choices.
It really is. Because we're all influenced by what Covey calls scripts. These are the sort of unconscious beliefs and expectations we pick up from family, culture, media about how we should live, what success should look like.
Things we might not even realize are guiding us.
Exactly. Habit 2 helps you examine those scripts. Are they aligned with your end in mind, with your core values? Or do you need to rewrite them based on your own principles?
So it's about consciously choosing your own direction based on principles.
Yes. Basing a life on unchanging principles gives you stability. You're not constantly reacting to shifting circumstances or other people's opinions. You have an internal anchor.
How can someone make this practical day to day?
Well, once you've identified your core values, maybe through the funeral exercise or drafting a mission statement, you start setting goals that reflect them. If family is a top value, maybe a goal is protected family time each week, no interruptions. If health is key, schedule exercise. It's connecting the big picture to your daily actions.
Okay, so habit 1 is taking charge. Habit 2 is figuring out where you're going, which leads naturally to habit 3. Put first things first. This sounds like where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely. Habit 3 is the practical fulfillment of habits 1 and 2. It's about organizing and executing around your most important priorities. It's the discipline of actually doing what matters most.
Covey has those 2 key questions here, doesn't he? To identify those first things.
He does. Simple but powerful. What one thing could you do that you aren't doing now that if you did on a regular basis would make a tremendous positive difference in your personal life? And the same question for your professional life.
Focusing on the high leverage activities.
Exactly. Habit 3 is about scheduling those high leverage activities, those priorities, into your life. It links your proactive choice, habit 1, and your vision, habit 2, with concrete action.
And this is where the time management matrix comes in, that 4-quadrant model.
Yes, the matrix helps us categorize our activities. It looks at urgency and importance.
Okay, break it down.
Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. Crises, deadlines, pressing problems. We have to spend time here, but too much means we're just firefighting.
Stressful.
Very. Quadrant 3 is urgent but not important. Think interruptions, some meetings, popular activities that don't align with your goals, feels busy but isn't effective.
The noise.
Right. Quadrant 4 is not urgent and not important. Trivia, time wasters, busy work. We want to minimize this.
Okay, so where should we focus?
Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. This is the heart of effective personal management. Things like planning, prevention, relationship building, learning, exercise, preparation.
The things that are easy to put off because they aren't yelling for attention right now.
Exactly. But investing time in Quadrant 2 prevents many Quadrant 1 crises from happening in the first place. It builds capacity, it leads to long-term effectiveness and balance. Effective people focus on Quadrant 2.
Which means you probably need to get good at saying no to things.
Definitely. Saying no courageously and graciously to activities in Quadrants 3 and 4, and sometimes even less important Quadrant 1 tasks, is crucial to make space for Quadrant 2. It's about prioritizing based on your principles and vision.
So how do you practically manage this? Covey talks about weekly planning.
Yes, he recommends taking maybe 30 minutes each week, often Sunday evening, to plan the upcoming week. First, you identify your key roles like spouse, parent, manager, individual.
Okay.
Then for each role, you ask, what's the most important thing I can do in this role this week? You set 1 or 2 key goals for each role, tied to your larger vision.
So you're thinking holistically about your life.
Right. And finally, you schedule time in your week to actually work on those goals. You put the big rocks, the quadrant 2 activities into your schedule first before it fills up with gravel.
And first things includes everything: important work, relationships, health, personal growth.
Absolutely. It's not just about work productivity. It's about managing yourself to live a balanced, principle-centered life, shifting from time management to self-management.
Okay, so habits 1, 2, and 3 give us that private victory, that foundation of independence. Now we move into interacting with others, interdependence. Starting with habit 4, think win-win.
Exactly. This marks the shift. Habit 4 isn't just a tactic. It's a philosophy for human interaction. It's seeking mutual benefit in all agreements and relationships. You want outcomes where everyone feels good about the decision and committed to the plan.
Not win-lose, where one person gains at the other's expense.
Right. Or lose-win, where you give in to keep the peace but feel resentful. Or even lose-lose, where conflict damages everyone. Win-win looks for a better way, a third alternative.
Covey links this to the scarcity mentality versus the abundance mentality, doesn't he?
He does. The scarcity mentality sees life as a fixed pie. If you get a big piece, there's less for me. It breeds competition, comparison, insecurity.
Whereas the abundance mentality
Believes there's plenty out there for everybody. Success for others doesn't diminish my own. In fact, we can create more together. This fosters cooperation, creativity, sharing credit. It's fundamental to win-win.
So win-win is the ideal, but Covey mentions other possibilities too, right? 6 paradigms?
Yes. Win-win, win-lose, win-lose-lose. Just win, focused only on your own outcome, and then a really powerful one, win-win or no deal.
Win-win or no deal. What's that about?
It means if we can't find a solution that benefits both of us, we agree to disagree agreeably, no deal. This preserves the relationship. It takes courage, but it sets a high standard. Better no deal than a bad deal that creates resentment later.
So living this win-win philosophy requires certain character traits.
Definitely. Covey highlights 3. Integrity, sticking to your values and commitments. The balance between courage, expressing your feelings and convictions, and consideration, being aware of and respectful towards others' thoughts and feelings.
Courage and consideration. That's a key balance.
It is. And the third is that abundance mentality we talked about, believing there's enough for everyone.
Can you give examples of win-win in action? Maybe at home or work?
Sure, at home, instead of a parent laying down the law, win-lose, or giving in constantly, lose-win, a family might work together to find solutions for chores or curfew that respect everyone's needs. At work, it could be performance agreements where expectations, resources, accountability, and consequences are clearly defined and mutually agreed upon.
So it takes more effort up front, maybe?
Often, yes. It requires communication, creativity, and a genuine commitment to finding that mutual benefit. But the payoff is huge in terms of trust, stronger relationships, and more sustainable, effective long-term results.
Okay, so win-win is the goal. But to get there, you really need to understand the other person's win, right? Which leads perfectly into habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Exactly. This is perhaps the single most important principle in interpersonal communication. We typically want to be understood first. We want to get our point across, give advice, fix things.
Jump in with our own story or solution.
Right. Covey calls this autobiographical listening. We listen with the intent to reply, not to truly understand. We filter everything through our own perspective, advising, probing based on our concerns, interpreting based on our motives, evaluating based on our judgments.
Guilty as charged sometimes. So what's the alternative?
Empathic listening. Listening with the genuine intent to understand. To see the world the way the other person sees it, to understand their paradigm, their feelings.
Putting yourself in their shoes, really.
Completely. Not just listening to the words, but feeling the meaning, understanding the emotional content. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but you need to deeply understand them first.
That sounds hard. It takes patience.
It takes real effort and discipline. You have to suspend your own agenda, resist the urge to jump in, and truly focus on the other person. But it's incredibly powerful. When people feel genuinely heard and understood, it creates trust. It opens them up. It's like giving them psychological air.
And only after you've provided that understanding.
Then you can focus on being understood. And because you've listened empathically, the other person is much more likely to be receptive to your viewpoint. You've built credibility and trust.
How do you effectively present your side then?
Clearly, logically, considering the other person's perspective. Covey talks about ethos, personal credibility, pathos, your empathy, aligning with their emotional thrust, and logos, the logic, the reasoning of your presentation. You build on the understanding you've gained.
Makes sense. This habit seems crucial everywhere. Family, work, negotiations, conflict resolution.
Absolutely fundamental. So many problems stem from misunderstanding. Habit 5 is the key to unlocking genuine communication and building strong, positive relationships.
Okay, so we're thinking win-win, we're seeking to understand. Now, habit 6, synergize. This sounds like where it all comes together.
It really is. Synergy is the habit of creative cooperation. It's teamwork, it's open-mindedness, it's the adventure of finding new solutions to old problems. Covey says synergy means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or 100.
So it's more than just compromise.
Much more. Compromise often means 1 + 1 = 1.5. Both sides give something up. Synergy is about working together to create something better than either side could have come up with alone. It builds on all the previous habits.
Yeah, so?
Well, you need to be proactive. Habit 1. Have an end in mind. Habit 2. Put first things first. Habit 3. To even be in a position to collaborate effectively. You need a win-win attitude. Habit 4. And the skills of empathic communication. Habit 5. To build the trust required for synergy.
And a key part of synergy is valuing differences.
Absolutely critical. Instead of seeing different opinions or perspectives as threats, synergy sees them as opportunities. Different viewpoints bring new information, new possibilities.
It's like putting together a puzzle with different shaped pieces.
Exactly. Someone sees things analytically, another intuitively. Someone is detail-oriented, another sees the big picture. Someone is cautious, another adventurous. Synergy leverages these differences to create a more complete and robust outcome.
But that requires a lot of trust and security, right? People need to feel safe to express different ideas.
Totally. High trust and open communication are essential. When people feel genuinely valued and respected, they open up, share ideas freely, and build on each other's contributions. That's when the magic of synergy happens. New insights emerge, better solutions are found.
Can you give an example?
Imagine a project team tackling a difficult problem. Instead of arguing for their own solutions, win-lose, they use Habit 5 to truly understand each other's perspectives. Then brainstorm together. Habit 6, building on ideas, valuing the diversity of thought, aiming for a solution that's better than any individual proposal. Win-win.
So fostering synergy requires conscious effort.
Definitely. It means creating an environment where differences are respected, communication is open, and the focus is on collaborative problem solving. But the result is all as well is innovation, breakthroughs, stronger teams are worth it.
Okay, that covers the habits focused on interdependence. Now the final one, habit 7, sharpen the saw. This sounds like maintenance.
It is, but it's crucial maintenance. It's the habit of self-renewal, self-care. Covey uses the story of the woodcutter sawing furiously, but making little progress because his saw is dull. He says he's too busy sawing to sharpen it.
Which is counterproductive in the long run.
Exactly. Habit 7 says you are your greatest asset. You need to take time to preserve and enhance yourself to remain effective. Neglecting self-renewal leads to burnout, declining effectiveness, and unhappiness.
So how do we sharpen the saw? What areas does it cover?
Covey identifies 4 dimensions of our nature that need regular renewal: physical exercise, nutrition, stress management, rest, taking care of your body.
Makes sense.
Social emotional, building relationships, practicing empathy, Habit 5 again, service, intrinsic security, nurturing your connections and emotional well-being,
Great.
mental reading, learning, visualizing, planning, writing, keeping your mind sharp and expanding your knowledge.
And the 4th?
Spiritual clarifying values, study, meditation, spending time in nature, engaging with art or music, connecting to your core, your purpose, finding peace.
And these are all connected.
Deeply interconnected. Neglecting one area impacts the others. If you're physically exhausted, it's hard to be patient, social, emotional, or mentally sharp. If you feel disconnected spiritually, it can affect your motivation and relationships.
Can you give some simple examples for each?
Sure. Physical. Maybe a daily walk, swapping soda for water, aiming for 7-8 hours of sleep. Social emotional. Having a meaningful conversation with a loved one, doing something kind for someone, practicing active listening. Mental. Reading for 30 minutes a day, journaling, learning a new skill online. Spiritual.
Yeah.
Meditating for 10 minutes, spending time in nature, listening to inspiring music, reflecting on your values.
So it's about making consistent small investments in ourselves across all these areas.
Exactly. It's not selfish. It's essential for sustained effectiveness. Habit 7 makes all the other habits possible. It's the ongoing process that creates an upward spiral of growth, learning, and contribution.
So looking back, the 7 habits really provide this integrated framework, don't they? Moving from dependence to independence with habits 1, 2, 3.
Building that character foundation, yes.
Then into interdependence with habits 4, 5, 6.
Learning to collaborate and communicate effectively for mutual benefit.
All supported and sustained by habit 7, continuous self-renewal.
It's a holistic approach, rooted in timeless principles, not just quick fixes. They work together, synergistically, to help you become truly effective in all aspects of life.
It's a powerful model. So maybe a final thought for you listening. As you reflect on these 7 habits, which one feels most relevant to you right now? Is there one area where taking a small, proactive step could start creating significant positive change in your life? That consistent application, that's where the real transformation happens.